Good morning from paradise. I'm Crypto Amaru. We got Crypto Hitman here. We're going to be talking today about general market conditions. Why did we just see that pretty significant correction last night? What's the basis for that, and what can we expect in the few weeks and months ahead? And we also want to talk about some utility plays that we have our eyes on. Is utility season going to make a comeback here? It's just going to be memes forever. My take is we will have a utility season at some point, just a matter of when. And there's some juicy opportunities out there, things that are bottomed out if you're willing to take a bit of a risk. So, yeah, with that, look, things had bounced a little bit. Last Friday, Jerome Powell spoke at that conference, market pumped. Now we're retracing back. The chart still looks intact, but what's your take on this recent correction? Why do you think that happened, and where do you think we go from here?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I haven't seen news about what the correction is. I know the SEC is going after OpenSea again, and I know people were kind of affiliating it to the Chinese market having a sell-off. But we do know that the Hong Kong ETFs continue positive inflows for Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETF, which means that institutions continue to buy. So really, this has to be OG whales and insiders selling here, more of the retail market. Now, like you said, the chart is still intact. We could even go below 56,000. As long as it's briefly and the chart would still be intact. That would be a ABC correction. That would be the final dip to buy before the next move higher. But we're leading into September where Jerome Powell potentially could be doing some rate cuts. We see the polls coming out. Trump is starting to pick up steam a little bit with the support from RFK Jr., which is positive for Bitcoin and crypto. And the institutions just keep buying. So it's kind of crazy that we're still sitting down here and we're having these sell-offs. When the biggest money in the world is buying, it still seems that some whales and OGs continue to sell off and are getting a little nervous of the market conditions. Lastly, before I let you talk, normally we are kind of right on cue for the halving for Bitcoin. The Bitcoin market tops out usually 480 days after the halving happens. I think we're at a 150-day mark, and we are historically only days, if not weeks, away from where the uptrend continues, and we would break above that 74,000 once again. That's why, if the history repeats itself, I've been saying 100,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2024 is definitely not out of the question. So we do know that Bitcoin can rip quickly, rapidly, and when you're not looking, and we'll see if some of these catalysts finally play out. And ultimately, if you drag it, well, I mean, yeah, the red bars look scary on Bitcoin, but it was only just a couple percent in terms of percentages.
Yeah, I think people are just tired of the red bars. So like, oh, not again. Like, oh, are you serious? Like, I thought we were ready to take off here. But the markets never behave exactly as you want it to. Yeah, I looked into this sell-off a little bit more. Apparently, it was mostly just leverage traders and people taking out longs and unwinding those longs. They took them out leading up to and during, I guess, that Powell speech last week, knowing that he was going to say some dovish stuff. Market was going to potentially rise. That's what happened. And now they're selling off. So it's not anything other than there was no like catastrophic news or anything that led to this, just leverage trading, market manipulation, whatever you want to call that. So standard stuff in the market,
And I think
really.
it was something like 100. I saw something like initially 110 million of liquidations happened on that drop off, which means a lot of those over leveraged longs got hurt. And that's really the way the market treats these leverage players. You can make a lot of money doing leverage trading, but also the market isn't going to make it easy. So you're always going to be careful when you're doing leverage. And with the big assets and a bulk of your portfolio, I always recommend just do spot holding and spot trading. It's just a lot safer. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin always.
Yeah, I'm not a leverage trader myself, too risky for my blood. I'm not good at predicting the day-to-day or week-to-week market movements. Not a lot of people are, frankly. The market always surprises in these short-term time frames. So not a game that I play, but obviously what happens in that segment of the market does impact the price because we're at a relatively illiquid period. You have 110 million of liquidations. That can cause a cascading effect and a sell-off on the major assets. So that's basically what happened over the past day or two here. Nothing really to write home about. I do think there's a few things going on outside of that are bullish. You say that Powell may cut the rates. It's 100% he's going to cut the rates, and not he, by the way. It's a committee of people that need to decide. You had in the last meeting, the meeting minutes came out and they all said we're going to cut the rates. Then at the next meeting. Then you have Powell come out in that symposium and say, the time for higher interest rates is done. Now we're going to be focused on protecting the labor market. So, okay, definitely another indicator that cut rates. There's a basically 100% chance. Wall Street's betting 100% chance of either 25% or 0.25%, excuse me, or 0.5%, that would be a jumbo cut happening on September 18th. So, and you mentioned too the historical sort of trends on Bitcoin post halving, 150, 160 days after the halving. That's normally when the market starts to recover and rebound. We're right around that mark. 10 days from now, I believe will be 160 days. That'll be right before the interest rate cut is set to occur on September 18th. And so I think, hopefully we're almost out of the woods here. But yeah, I mean, it's just been a tough past 5 months since the halving. I think people are just feeling a little bit discouraged and down. But another interesting piece of information I looked into yesterday and made a little tweet about. So, Bitcoin is normally down and sideways most of the year. And then you have these big days where it makes up for that and then some. But if you were to miss those 10 days, it's 10 days every year that the market, goes bananas. If you're to miss those days, you miss out on those gains. In the last bull run, 2021, those days accounted for 175% return on your investment. The other remainder 355 days, you'd be down negative 49%. So that's how this market operates. Down and sideways is the norm. And then you have these brief parabolic moves up. And then obviously the year of the parabolic crazy mania run is a little different. But people just need to expect that the market's going to be down or sideways, and then you're not disappointed. You just keep hodling through those moments, and then you take your profits when the time arises. So I'm not too worried about it. Just got to stay patient here. And look, I think there's going to be some relief around the corner with this interest rate cut coming in mid-September.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that parlays us to our next conversation. We know we've seen a lot of historical and long-term success from large caps, well, now they're large caps, such as Ethereum and BNB and some of these utility plays who have built-in revenue, and they're deploying some of that revenue in the form of buybacks and burns, liquidity adds, marketing spends, whatever it may be. And I guess that kind of leads us to the forgotten sector in crypto, which is actually the utility tokens. These are the ones who usually have staying power because they have a real product, real revenue, and can survive the bear market cycles. But a lot of these small cap utility projects are worth less than the assets they hold, and I think they are bottomed out, and we have some opportunities. Do you have some of those on the radar? I know some of them we invested in pre-sales back in the day. They really seem to bottom out, but just now their businesses and their products are starting to produce revenue, which means soon that utility is going to come into effect.
Yeah, there's 3 that we invested in, in the early part of this year. That initially, by the way, all did very well. We had DeadPrez, which is a GambleFi or sort of online crypto casino project. We have ArcX, which creates phygital assets, AI-based phygital assets like jewelry, other luxury goods using their AI platform. You have YakDAO, which is a RWA project, actually in the glamping sector. So very unique project. These are all sitting at below their pre-sale prices right now. I'm personally long and bullish on all of them for variety of reasons, but they're all sort of at that phase where they're actually about to start generating revenue or already generating revenue in the case of DeadPrez. And to me, those are solid sort of long-term opportunities if you're looking for those type things, because the revenue starts to come in. That's there for the buybacks and burns. That's there for adding liquidity, like you said. That's there for marketing. So all these things are slowly starting to come to fruition. It's not easy building a real business, right? It takes time and a lot of effort and some luck. And so you have to be a bit patient with these utility plays. But I think at least with those 3, it feels like they're about to turn a corner here, hopefully aligned with, quote unquote, utility season, which I'm now seeing whispers of on crypto Twitter.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And if I did a quick rundown, DeadPrez, their token is USA. They have a big portion of their revenue set aside for buybacks, burns, and staking rewards. So you can just hold and make that passive income on a monthly basis. The casino itself is doing very well, making revenues month over month, but they want to get their bankroll to $1 million before they enact the utility. Right now, the bankroll is around $700,000, so they are almost there. ArcX is a AI jeweler platform, like you said. They've already done some collections with some meme coins. Those have sold out, which means revenue is there. They did a Kickstarter with some revenue, and they have set aside a big sum of money for a marketing campaign. They're just kind of waiting for the right time. But nonetheless, they're going to use these initial revenues to start that buyback and burn and the staking reward progress. They just opened new staking pools to lock up more ArcX tokens. And that valuation, literally the app that they have in the real world assets that they already own is worth more than the market capitalization of the token. So to me, that's an undervaluation of the token just because people don't really know about it and it's not utility season. So that's one to look at. And then YakDAO, they have the glamping dome. They own a property that's worth like $600,000. They got the well put in, they got the electricity put in, and they got the decks put in for these domes. Now, once these domes get put up and get listed on Airbnb, revenue starts immediately, and 18% goes to a management fee, but all the rest, the remaining 82% goes towards the token, whether it's stakeholders, buybacks and burns, buyback liquidity provisions. So again, that market cap of that project is like 200,000. The property that they own is worth 600,000 before the renovations that they did. So to me, that is an undervaluation in the Web3 economy because people aren't aware of it and it's not utility season. So that's another one I like for the long term. To me, these are more, they're going to be less reliant on the market conditions once the revenue is running, and it kind of gives you exposure to different real world assets. One gives you a real estate play, one's an online casino play, which we know everybody's gambling, and the other is like a jewelry business. So these are kind of nice because I know it's tough for people when the bull market is coming to want to pull assets out of the crypto market and diversify into real assets. This could be that way to stay in the crypto market but still produce passive income to add to your daily life. And you can sell the passive income tokens, pull those out for real world bills, and still maintain the exposure to the crypto market over the long term.
Yeah, that was always our thesis for investing in those projects to begin with. Not financial advice is ever on crypto paradise, but that was kind of the mindset, right? A lot of these projects came to us in the bear market and thinking about, okay, diversification is important. Being exposed to different types of businesses is important. So yeah, we'll see if that all plays out when utility season does finally kick off. There's another kind of utility out there that's less sort of business and, buyback and burn oriented. It's more transactional utility oriented. And an example of that is Ferrum Network, which is a project near and dear to our heart, of course. They have just announced the first project building on that network. And if you don't know, Ferrum Network is building infrastructure that connects Bitcoin to other chains. It's an interoperability solution. It's building its own blockchain, which means that as transactions run through that network, you're going to have to spend a little bit of that protocol token. Some of that gets burned. Some of it gets returned to stakers. So it's sort of like an Ethereum model in the sense of, in terms of token utility. But that project really coming into its own right now with the mainnet looking like the launch is relatively soon, and already projects signing up to be a part of that and build on top of that. So that's a utility play. That's not so much like a business, more of a network, more of a decentralized blockchain. That's what it is, right? So that's that transactional utility that's coming on a Ferrum Network type of project. That's sitting at a 5 million market cap, quite low for sort of an infrastructure play in the blockchain space. So keep an eye out for that one. There's also Nomex, which is a project that we're getting involved with that's about to launch. They're an exchange. Perhaps you want to talk a bit more about Nomex, as I think that's going to be another one with some strong token utility for utility season.
Yeah, and the last thing to add on to your Ferrum Network and the FRM token, you can think of it as similar to how Ethereum and BNB got so big. They are the fee token for their individual networks, and the more projects that build on the network, that means more liquidity will be locked up utilizing that network token, which in this case would be Ferrum. If you notice, a lot of liquidity pools use Ethereum. A lot of liquidity pools use BNB. When you do a trade or a transaction, you need to use those as gas tokens. The same idea applies for Ferrum in the future as well. So yeah, Nomiax is a centralized exchange. Obviously, there's risks associated with centralized exchanges. The most important thing is security. Now, the exchanges that do survive and have good security absolutely blow it out of the water when it comes to a token. Well, why is that? Because the token is the basis to receive many discounts and trading fees, to get invited to events, to have buybacks and burns based off the revenue of the exchange. We know that exchanges are very profitable. When you're trading, they are taking a micro penny from every transaction. The more volume, the more users, that money adds up quick. Also, they charge for listings. Also, they get free tokens from projects for marketing expenses and whatever it may be. And it seems like Nomiax is really keeping it easy. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They're copying the token utility that we see with BNB on Binance, KCS on KuCoin, MX on MEXC, 3 exchanges that have all succeeded in standing the test of time so far. And they're just going to take those utilities, apply it to their own token, and they're really trying to tap into the Indian market. As you know, WazerX was very big over in India. Binance bought a portion of that, and then they ran into some headaches. So right now, India kind of has a gap when it comes to centralized exchanges. They have a massive population, and they're now starting to embrace crypto. So it could all work out very well for NomiX and that token if they just generate revenues. The token utilities are already proven by Binance and these other exchanges.
I've been calling NomiX the Indian Bybit. They have someone on their team who's former Bybit, and they're kind of leaning into that leverage trading sector as well. But yeah, the big thing I think for a NomiX is that sort of moat that they have around it. Apparently, the regulators in India kicked out a lot of the exchanges that were not owned by Indians, and so but NomiX was able to secure the license to operate in India. They are Indian or by origin and descent. So the team is that is, and so I guess the regulators look favorably upon that, and they wanted Indian owners of these exchanges. So that's why they got the license. And they've also, by the way, they're fully doxed. They did their whole they did an additional layer of KYC with Assure DeFi. So they seem pretty legit, pretty serious. They're launching on the 31st of August, so they're full steam ahead. And that one could be quite interesting if it does take off and really become a major player in the Indian crypto market, which, as we know, that's either the biggest country in the world population-wise or second biggest behind China. I think there's 1.4 or 1.5 billion people in the country of India, and a lot of them are crypto savvy or interested in crypto, trying to improve their lives through different means. So I'm keeping a close eye on that one. We're supporting it. And that's a great example of a utility play that's coming up as well.
Yeah,
so any others we want to touch on here?
Well, and I think with that, with the launch, you can expect volatility. We'll see what the market does as far as the token price itself. But I think that one thing that leads to a good potential long-term future is the centralized exchange is already live, and you can go on there and trade. They're already making revenues. They already have users, and they didn't force or inject a token with it just because the exchange is live, which looks good for their understanding that the token timing and you need to plan things around it. Also, that the business, this isn't a promise that a SEX is coming. The SEX is already there, and you can trade assets, which I think is good to see.
Yeah, good things to point out. We'll see how that plays out initially. The market is not good right now for
Right.
altcoins, so let's just be honest about that. So
Yep.
who knows? Maybe we see a pump on that one and a correction, and then it settles down at some level, and then perhaps at that point it's something to look
I would agree.
closely at. But yeah, everything you said. I mean, the fact that the exchange is out, they have users, the utility is going to be there day one. That puts it a step above most projects, frankly, that launch without any of those things. So keep a lookout for Nomex. Any others to touch on real quick before we jump off?
I mean, nothing in particular. I still think that AI and DePIN sector probably have another run just because a lot of them are utilizing real world GPUs, decentralization of that GPU power to generate AI assets. And I don't think that narrative is dead. And I believe in the future, we're going to continue to use more and more AI and DePIN products without even really knowing it. So there's a bunch in that sector, RLC, GPU, GHX. There's a ton of them. But that's why I won't get into names. But I think that as a sector as a whole still has more juice left in the tank and has real world utility when it comes to the function of the token. And people like that have a gaming rig like this. I can rent out that GPU power for people to use for their projects. So I think that's a sector to still keep an eye on.
For sure, and I think AI season's not going anywhere. If Nvidia has good earnings,
Right.
you see these AI tokens to perform quite well. One final sector that we're keeping our eye on very closely is the BTC sector. There's a lot happening still in the world of Bitcoin itself. A lot of innovation happening over there. In essence, trying to bring some of the things we saw, with DeFi on Ethereum, but onto Bitcoin. And one of those projects building in that sector is called Tutti. They're also building on Ferrum network infrastructure. What they're going to allow you to do is take your idle BTC and get loans against that and lend that out and earn yield on that. So that's basically DeFi on Bitcoin powered by Ferrum network. Just got announced yesterday. There's more coming for that one. They're very early stage, right? Just starting their fundraising round. So we'll see what happens with that one. But I think the BTC sector as a whole is also going to continue to do well as long as Bitcoin is doing well.
Yeah, got a lot of hype, and it was providing a lot of value to Bitcoin because the transaction fees and everything. Remember, that's going on with Bitcoin, and that those transaction fees are getting paid out to miners, which means they're making higher revenue and have to sell less of the block rewards, which is why Bitcoin price was going up. The hype has subsided, but the builders are still building there, and I would expect at some point during this market cycle that Bitcoin catches on as more products build over there. and we can get that DeFi season on Bitcoin, which I think is going to be a huge opportunity for altcoins there, but really benefits Bitcoin price as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for this bull run. We just got to get Bitcoin past previous all-time highs. We got to get easy money flowing again from a macro standpoint. Things will take off. We'll eventually have an alt season. By the way, I don't think memes are going anywhere either. But I felt like let's focus on utility plays for this video because it's a bit forgotten, but they are going to make a comeback when the time is right.
Yeah, and I think we kind of covered everything. So make sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. If you like any of the projects we talked about, let us know. Maybe we'll do an individual review video on them. Or if you think we missed any utility tokens, throw that in the comment section as well. Maybe we'll take a look. Maybe we'll recommend it. Maybe we'll buy it ourselves. Shill your bags, and maybe we'll pump your bags. And until next time, we'll see you on the beach.